Hello, my name is Dayla Shay Hill. This is our final for communications this semester. So I'm going to start out this video with a quick story about an instance of miscommunication that I had. So in June of last year, we moved my grandmother into our home, who is in her late 70s. And with that, we set up a smart TV in her room. Well, very frequently, she would call my name to come in and change the input or help her find the show she had been watching. And she would tell me things like, oh, this movie, it should be over by now. And then I looked, and she had been watching like 14 days of a series, but she didn't understand how Netflix or Hulu or anything worked. So I tried to explain to her one day how to use this television, and to her it's like a supercomputer. And in that, I tried explaining that Hulu, Netflix, Disney, these were their own separate apps. Well, it got a little frustrating after a few weeks. She still was calling me in there very frequently, but to this 70-something-year-old woman, she doesn't even know what an app is. I wasn't meeting her where she is at, so I had to go back and explain to her in a way that she would understand by saying things like Netflix and Hulu have their own shows like a network. How some shows, when you had cable, would come on ABC or Fox. Well, those are networks, and each of these boxes on the TV for Hulu and Netflix, they're called apps, but they have their own set of networks and shows that are exclusive to them. And eventually she did get the hang of it, and so that's why I think that the most important part of communication is knowing your audience. So to know your audience is going to help you communicate your point effectively, connect and gain interest, and make sure that they're retaining the information you give them. So here I have a chart, and we're going to go over these 3 points on how to know your audience. The first one is, what is their age range? So as I said, my miscommunication with my grandmother was somewhat due to an age difference. I was raised around technology as she was not, and this was very foreign to her. So you need to identify, are you speaking to a group of children, a group of adolescents, students, or adults? This is going to affect your tone, the vocabulary that you use, whereas you're not going to go quoting a scholarly article to a group of kindergartners. You want to make sure that you're speaking at an age-appropriate level for your audience. And this also goes into the second point. What is their education or background? This is important not just because of their age, but are you speaking to a group of people who are you speaking about a field of work that you're in amongst a group of your peers? Or are you talking to students in your field? Are you talking to somebody who has never heard of this topic before? You're not going to go into a conversation explaining all the nuances within a job to someone who's never worked a day of it. You're not going to go quoting scholarly articles to somebody who has never even heard of the subject before. So, what is their education? How much knowledge do they already have on the subject? And then the third point is, what is their interest in this subject? Similar to their background, is this person looking for a seminar on something that they read about and thought, oh, maybe that'll be interesting? Or is this somebody who is experienced in this, or is an expert in the field? Like, how are you going to engage that audience? Someone that's never tried something before, I may want to make sure to talk about what benefits they can gain from this, and how it can help them in their daily life, and why they should integrate these things into their lives. Whereas somebody who's experienced on the subject, we're probably going to talk more about complexities of the subject and ways to further certain things or opinions on the matter. Whereas someone who's never heard of this subject before isn't really concerned about the in and outs of it yet. They're just dipping their toes in. So these are just 3 things that you can consider when trying to get to know your audience, so that maybe you can avoid the months-long miscommunications that I had trying to teach my grandmother how to use a smart TV.